Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for internet technology professionals whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We are here to provide solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, this is Joanne Victoria with another wonderful day in the greater Seattle area. I'm here today with Dawn Meyer, and she has a wonderful website address called iampurpledawn.com. iampurple, purpledawn.com, and I'm excited for her to be here because, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to be listening to a former Space Shuttle Engineer, among the list of many, many, many things that Dawn C. Meyer does. Dawn C. Meyer is the founder and president of Purple Dawn, Inc. Dawn uses her unique combination of innovative techniques to get people out of their pain, trauma, drama, and stories into creating a life of expanded possibilities. Dawn assists them to bring more ease and joy to their lives by helping them discover that they have more choices and possibilities for changing what isn't working in their lives than they ever thought they had. Dawn is an empowering coach, energy healer, best-selling author, Access Consciousness certified facilitator, massage therapist, Reiki master, inspirational speaker, and yet again, former Space Shuttle Engineer. Welcome, Dawn Meyer.
Thank you, Joanne.
I'm glad you're here today.
I'm glad I'm here too, and I'm glad you're here.
Yes, yes, and our listeners will be grateful as well because I know you have some good tips, tools, and strategies to share with them, and as well as a gift that we will talk about closer to the end of the program because I want everybody to stay listening to you. So what can you tell us about being a former Space Shuttle Engineer? How did this happen? Is this something you went to school for?
Well, kind of. I like to tell people that when I was a little kid, I had two things I wanted to be. I either wanted to be the first woman on the moon, or I wanted to be able to heal people with my hands. So I wasn't able to be the first woman on the moon, and I didn't make it to be an astronaut, but I made it to be a software engineer on the space shuttle. And then after that, I went on to be a massage therapist and energy healer, so I used my hands to help people. So that's how that came about. But as far as learning to be a space shuttle engineer, yes, I have a master's degree in computer science, and I used that to work on the electrical system of the space shuttle for a lot of years until the program ended.
Well, it's sad about the program ending, but it's exciting to hear somebody who was so closely involved in it.
Yeah, I was there for 28 years.
Wow.
And which was the majority of the program. The program was 30 years. I missed the first 2 years because I was still in college.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it was pretty amazing to be a part of that and to see I think it was 130 out of 135 flights that I got to see launch. So I missed the first few before I was there, and then I missed, I think, 2 others while I was on vacation when they launched. But it was an amazing thing to be part of.
It sounds it. I have no way to comprehend being involved with something of that magnitude and the skills you must have used for your contribution on that end. So how did you transform, I'll just say transform, or transfer, or change to becoming an empowering coach and an energy healer? How was that transition?
As I said, the other thing, like I said, that I wanted to do is heal people with my hands, and I had been interested in, energy stuff and science fiction and paranormal kinds of things pretty much all my life. So when I discovered some of the different techniques that I could actually learn, and then in the process of learning that, discovering that I'd really had that all along, kind of like, Dorothy, you've always had the power all along, from the Wizard of Oz. that was just so incredible for me. And as we were nearing the end of the Space Shuttle program, I knew that there was something that I wanted to do. I didn't want to stay on for the follow-on program. My husband stayed on for the follow-on program. But I knew that I needed to get out in the world and start doing this energy work because I'd been studying it for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that it was time to get out there and start sharing it with people, to start helping people realize that there are changes that they can make in their life that they don't think they can make.
I agree with you, yes. So one of the reasons that I did many of the workshops and seminars and retreats that I did years ago was that people didn't know enough how to access all of their knowledge and intuition to help them live a better life. A more positive life.
Yes, they think once they get to a certain point that they can't do certain things anymore. Okay, I'm 50, I can't do this anymore. I'm 20, I can't do this anymore. I'm a male, I can't do this. I'm a female, I can't do that. Okay, I have to continue doing this because I've always done it, or I have to do this because my parents did this. There's all sorts of reasons that we get in our heads and make that our reality instead of realizing what's really possible.
I found that some of the people I was working, I just flashed on this. I remember at the time people were afraid because I was dealing with negative patterns as well, and they were afraid on some level, what would they substitute for it? Even though I gave them substitutions, they were still afraid of, the world is not like a vacuum. So, you have to fill it with something. And would they be able to maintain going into this new direction? Do you ever have people who feel like that?
Yes, I have had people who have had that concern. Mm-hmm. And to some extent, yes, they now have things that are not there anymore. They've gotten rid of that automatic setting that they had that they kept looping back to all the time. Mm-hmm. And I said, but wouldn't you like to explore what's available for you? You said that you would like to change your life and you'd like to get out of constantly repeating these patterns that you're falling into with your relationships and with your job and just the things that keep happening again and again and again in your life. Wouldn't you like to start exploring that? And I'll give you the tools so that you can start asking what else is possible for you and start asking the universe, what's next? What can I do here that would actually be a contribution to me and to the universe? And see where that goes. And for most people, that's kind of a relief to them to realize, oh, I can ask what's next, where I can go. And but other people, yes, they do have that negative pattern that they're still stuck in. So then we start working on that.
Right.
Okay, what is that you're afraid of? That we can start getting to what's underneath that. Mm-hmm. Because most things that people work with are the symptoms of what's really going on in their lives. Mm-hmm. So when you cut the symptoms off, like you're trimming a tree, when you cut those outside branches, they may or may not be, they're obviously not the root of the tree, they're just the outside branches. So you're just
Correct.
trimming instead of getting to that root that's really holding it all in place.
Right. Knock that tree over. Well,
I don't like to knock trees over, but maybe the weeds or something.
the weeds. Well, you've got the root of the tree, the trunk of the tree, the branch of the tree, the leaves on the branches. So there's a lot of stuff that can be considered to be in the way of a more positive life force.
Exactly. It's kind of like the symptoms to a disease that you're trying to get to. If you just treat the symptoms, you don't necessarily get to what's actually creating what's happening for you.
Yes, I can attest to that during my most recent bout here with the flu, that, taking care of the symptoms is a very temporary thing, but going to the core of it takes a little bit more work. And, whatever it is, I'm responsible. Talk to me about this Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator. What does that mean?
Well, Access Consciousness is a whole group of tools for changing your life. And being a certified facilitator means that I've taken a number of trainings. There's quite a list of training that I take to become a certified facilitator, so that I can assist myself and other people in exploring these things that are going on with them. I can do different techniques with them. I have hands-on techniques. I have just verbal techniques, and I can work them through or around or over or under or whatever works, the things that are really sticking them.
Can you give me an example?
So I've taken several years worth of training. Well, like when I start talking with people, there are different techniques that I give them. Like I give them phrases that they can use to let go of things. One of them is called the clearing statement. And it's, I'll say one for you.
Okay.
Like everything that I have that's holding this difficulty in place, I destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And sometimes people will just go, huh? And I usually say that's a good thing, because I'm trying to bypass your logical mind, which is what's holding in place all of your limitations. Mm-hmm. So we're bypassing that logic part to get to what's really underneath it. So that's one of the things that I use, and that's explained on my website. Mm-hmm. And then there are other things. I have techniques that I can use to move energy around in your body and help you let go of the things that are actually creating the pain that you're experiencing, or the other difficulties that you're experiencing. I've had people that they quit having digestive problems after one session, and they'd had them for like 10 years. And I help people to let go of the things that they're taking on for everybody else, because we do that. We grab hold of these things and we think that we're helping somebody by dealing with them, but we forget that we can't really fix it because it's not ours.
Right.
And they've still got it too. So now you both got it. That didn't really work out, did it?
No, it never does.
And then I also teach classes. Yeah, and then I also teach people the things like the access consciousness bars, which are points on your head and face that are all those things that you're hanging on to in different aspects of your life, like money and your body and aging and healing and that sort of thing. And when I touch those points, it helps you let go of those things that you've got stored, so you can start unraveling it. So those are some of the things that I do as a certified facilitator.
That sounds interesting and results-oriented, that's for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and it's also, I can never tell anybody exactly what they're going to get. So I hesitate to say results-oriented, because then people say, oh, then I can expect that. But people,
well, there is an outcome. There is an outcome.
There is an outcome, yes.
There is an outcome. It's not necessarily what they desire, or nobody can say what that would be, but there is an outcome. There
is an outcome, and there are things that you can let go of that you never thought you could let go of, and remove from your life. And like you said, those patterns that you keep repeating back on, to let go of some of that and what's holding it in place. Because it probably isn't what you'd think, or you would have gotten rid of it already.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody thinks they know. Oh, I know what it is. No, if you did, you wouldn't have it.
Yep, exactly.
And then they go, oh, well, that's a wall that I haven't counted on. One of the things we discussed briefly before the show, and you touched on a little bit a couple of minutes ago, is how people, and I'm talking specifically to IT workers today, but I think most anybody would want to know, is that how one person, let's say on a group or a part of a group or a team, takes the burden of the negativity of the entire team onto themselves, thinking they're doing the world a favor, or sometimes they do it unconsciously. And they take on this burden, and I see it in action. Because I wonder, why? This is not your circus. This is not you. You can't make the difference that needs to be made. So how can would you address that, especially in the workplace?
Yeah, in the workplace, we we don't realize just how much we absorb things around us and how aware we are of what's going on around us. We're like little satellite dishes picking up all the stuff that's going on around us. And rather than just realize that that stuff isn't ours and let it just pass right beyond, right past you, like you're in a rock in a stream and it just flows around you, we tend to think we have to do something about it. So we latch onto it and we try to make it ours and to fix it. And of course, since it's not yours, you can't really fix it. It's not like when you take somebody else's computer and you can fix their computer. No, when you take their emotions and their thoughts and their feelings and you try to fix them, you can't really do that. You're just adding it to your own stuff, and then it piles up, and people just get more and more and more of it instead of realizing that they can say, I return it to sender. It's not mine.
Yeah, not my circus, not my monkeys.
Not my monkeys, exactly.
It's one of my mottos that I have to rely on. Not my problem.
Yeah, and it's, you can just say, this isn't mine. I just let go of it. I return it. I throw it away. It's not mine. And it's a huge thing that you can do every day or multiple times a day. I mean, when I work on people, even now, I still occasionally, I'm so aware of their stuff that sometimes I forget it's not my stuff. Mm-hmm. So I need to after every person that I work on, it's like, okay, everything that's not mine that I, may have gotten from them, I just return it to sender and let it go because it's not mine to deal with.
It manifests itself in different ways. Certainly in the corporate world, I see that a lot of people in IT, and I don't know how familiar you are with that in this regard, but they gain a lot of weight when they start working in these groups, teams. And I see that usually after the first year, they've put on a significant amount of weight. And it's, it's food, but it's also energy that they're holding on to. You have to be cautious when you talk about that. The women have a different perspective on it than the men. The men don't really care as much. They just pull their shirts outside of their blue jeans and instead of, instead of neatening themselves up, they just make themselves more comfortable, which works for them. But I see that with the them taking on, let's just label it for the want of this show, negativity. It either manifests themselves in a weight gain or an energy weight gain from negativity that's going around that they just scoop up and apply to their own bodies, minds, and hearts. And what you're talking about in not taking responsibility for things that are not theirs, it's like simple. Please do it, people. If you're listening, pay attention. You can always go to Dawn's website at iampurpledawn.com and see what she has to offer you that may help you do this. But if it's not yours, don't take it on. And because I know that also becomes another habit or a pattern for people.
Yeah, and I do phone sessions for people, so I know you're in Seattle and I'm not.
Yes.
But, and the other thing is, how much, you can always ask them things like, well, how much of the weight of the world would you like to let go of now?
Yeah.
And just let it go. Because people put the weight of the world on their shoulders. And so you start asking them, is that really yours to carry? Would you like to let it go? And sometimes they don't even think that they're doing that. And you can also ask them things like, well, what are you waiting for? And a lot of people say, well, I'm waiting for a better job opportunity, or I'm waiting for this. I say, okay, is that waiting turning into wait? Mm-hmm. So that you've set yourself aside and you've cut off all these things in your life to wait for that one thing, rather than allowing yourself to have everything that's really available to you. And would you like to stop that now?
Yeah, it's hardly a mindful position to be in, to wait until something else happens. You could die in the meantime. Yeah. So what has been a lesson or advice that has stuck with you? Because you've been through, you've worked in different areas. You had your dreams as a child, and they've come through for you for the most part. And so what along the way is some advice that has stuck with you?
Well, one of the things I would say is to allow yourself to be as different as you really are. Because when I started doing the energy work studies when I was in as a software engineer, people didn't think that really went together. So there was a lot of judgment that people had of that from both directions, surprisingly. And it was just, I had to allow myself to be that difference that I was, because that was what I viewed as my mission. It still is what I view as my mission, was to be that difference and let people know that there's a difference available. And to not get bogged down in what everybody else thinks I should be and should do and, should have done and should have been and, all of those expectations that they have of me and everything, all the shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, the biggest thing is I tell people, don't let everybody else's ideas be, create your reality. You create your reality, not everybody else. So I would say that's my biggest thing that I have kept for years, actually, even when I was like in high school, because I was always different than everybody else. And so it was just realizing that, learn to thrive with that.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to enjoy it. Don't let people tell you how wrong you are for being who you really are.
Yeah, people are quick to do that, aren't they?
Yes, sadly they are.
They have no lives. That's the way I look at it. I mean, I understand what you mean when you say people kept trying to tell you to do what they thought was best for you. I had a little bit of that myself when I was younger, but then again, not so much, because I was able to dip my pool in the norm, dip my toe in the norm from time to time, just enough to keep people off my back. And yeah. I think I did it unconsciously, because I certainly wasn't aware of much when I was younger. It's taken me a long time to get to where I understand a little bit more, and I'm still learning a lot more. They don't give us enough time on Earth, but it's like, why didn't I know this 10, 20, 30 years ago? Okay.
I know. Why didn't I get the rule book,
Well, forget any book. Forget the rule book. There wasn't even, just give me something. It's like somebody was questioning the other day on Facebook, I think, about the new movie that's out, Hard Figures. I think that's what it's called. I'm not sure. About the women in Cape Canaveral who were mathematicians behind the scene, blah, blah, blah. And they go, I didn't learn that in high school. And I thought, I cannot respond to this stupidity. We didn't learn anything about women in high school. Mm-hmm. This has nothing to do with... This has nothing to do with gender or race. We didn't learn about women. You want to be curious. If you want to be curious, go to the library, talk to people. You're not supposed to learn minutiae, and I'm not, denouncing the skill and the talent they had, but they don't teach that stuff in school. That doesn't fit the rule book. The rule book.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you and I, pardon?
But people always think that everything should be provided to them. You have to go out and look.
You have to go out and look. What I do is I read a lot of fiction. I read some nonfiction, but I'm tired of nonfiction because it's just somebody else's perspective on similar thought patterns. But I like fiction, and I read mysteries and all fantasies and whatever it is, I read it. But it's from those books that my curiosity comes up. I'm always researching information I find out in books of fiction, because they have points of fact that they need to refer to for the most part, and whatever it is, I'm learning more and more and more from that genre than from anything else. A little odd, but you learn how you learn. Yeah. And the other thing that you and I agree on is not caring about the quote-unquote TV news. And I think that's something that has to be
buying
made.
Into all that fear. Yeah.
Well, it is.
So much fear that they're trying to get you to buy into, and so much misinformation And
well, nobody does
have
research.
stopped.
Nobody researches anything. They just believe what somebody says.
Yeah, because it's instant news now, instant gratification. You don't want to take the time to spend it, actually researching to see if it's true.
Heavens, that you should be responsible, be accountable for what you put into your brain and the brains of people around you. I don't understand. Well, I do understand it. It's easy. But I guess the thing that frustrates me about it is the people who do watch the news and or read the newspaper or whatever, and out of that, they become single-minded without even knowing what they're single-minded about. But then they go into the hatred mode, and it's like, why are you doing why are you taking away from your life to focus on somebody or something or some place that takes away the energy from you? I don't know what it is with people today.
Yeah. Well, it's that they give up who they are and the power and the brilliance that they are, and in favor of what everybody else tells them, instead of going with what they actually know. And that's the way I am if I do watch any news or read any news, because of course it's pretty much unavoidable. But every now and then, I go with my knowing on, is this really true, and get that energy of that thing to see if it really works for me. Is it actually even significant to me at all? And most of the time it's not.
I was just going to say.
Sometimes things are, there are a few things once in a while that are important that I need to pay attention to, like, storms and and events that are going on around me.
But still, there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, except prepare.
Prepare.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, on all levels, prepare. Be prepared and learn to, go within and trust your own instincts.
Right. And realize you're responsible for your reality.
All the time.
Yeah. No, don't let other people build your reality for you. You are responsible for your reality.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. People
Sounds
who are
good.
listening, you are responsible for your own reality, says Dawn Myers. I am purpledawn.com. And, I forgot to tell you about this free gift. Tell them about the meditation that you have for them, and where they can access it.
I have a meditation for you for letting go of stress and the things that you see as problems in your life, and just kind of expanding your energy out. And it's called an energy expansion meditation, and you can download it at iampurpledawn.com/download. And you'll get the audio file.
There you go, people. Can't ask for anything better than that. Well, Dawn C. Myers, I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you very much. And we'll talk again soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, Joanne.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com and continue the conversation on her podcast page. And get a free copy of her book, The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.